The quiet town of Willowbrook lay bathed in the soft glow of the moon, nestled among the dense trees of the surrounding forest. Its cobblestone streets and charming cottages seemed untouched by the chaos of the outside world. Willowbrook was known for its tranquility, a peaceful haven for its tight-knit community, or so it seemed. Ethan Larson, a middle-aged schoolteacher with a penchant for rationality, settled into his cozy home on Elm Street. He had always found solace in the simplicity of Willowbrook's life. But that night, as he lay in his dimly lit bedroom, sleep remained elusive. Restlessness gnawed at his mind, his anxiety growing with every passing minute. Finally, as the clock struck midnight, exhaustion claimed him. Ethan slipped into a world he had never known before, a world where nightmares transcended mere dreams. In the depths of slumber, Ethan wandered through a dense forest, shrouded in an eerie, bluish mist. He was acutely aware of his vulnerability, his heart pounding as if warning him of imminent danger. Twisted trees loomed overhead, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Suddenly, from the shadows emerged a grotesque, nightmarish creature. Its form seemed to shift and writhe, like a living nightmare given flesh. It had no eyes, only hollow sockets oozing a sickly green glow. Its skin was pale and clammy, stretched taut over its emaciated frame. Jagged, elongated fingers scraped the ground as it approached, a low, guttural growl escaping its unseen mouth. Ethan's breath quickened, his every instinct screaming at him to flee. He ran through the haunted forest, each step echoing with dread. The creature pursued him relentlessly, its presence a chilling reminder of impending doom. The forest became a labyrinth of torment, twisted and shifting, as though obeying the creature's malevolent will. Ethan's escape seemed futile, his every path leading to more nightmarish horrors. Then, with a jolt, he awoke in his bed, drenched in sweat, his heart racing. It was over, he thought, just a bad dream. But the pain that coursed through his body told a different story. Claw marks adorned his arms and chest, as if some malevolent force had torn at his flesh. Fear gripped Ethan, its icy fingers clutching his heart. He couldn't shake the feeling that what he had experienced was more than a mere dream. He had glimpsed something horrifying, something that shouldn't exist in the realm of reality. As dawn's first light filtered through his window, Ethan knew that Willowbrook's peaceful facade had been shattered. The nightmare was real, and it had only just begun. As the night deepened over Willowbrook, the once peaceful town plunged into turmoil. Ethan Larson, his face pale and haggard from sleepless nights, had gathered with the other tormented townsfolk in the dimly lit living room of a modest home. They sat in a tense circle, their eyes haunted by the horrors they'd witnessed. Ethan scanned the faces of his neighbors, people he had known for years, their expressions etched with fear and desperation. The room was filled with whispered conversations, fragments of nightmares, and the soft sobs of those who had suffered the most. "The nightmare last night," Ethan began, his voice trembling. "It was worse than before. That creature, it's getting stronger." Nods of agreement rippled through the group. One woman, her arm wrapped in bandages, spoke up. "I woke up with this gash on my arm after my dream. It's not just in our heads, it's real." Ethan leaned forward, his eyes locking onto an old, weathered book resting on a nearby table. It was open to a page detailing dark rituals and incantations. He had spent countless hours scouring through ancient texts, desperate to find a solution. "Has anyone found anything in their research?" he asked, gesturing toward the book. A middle-aged man named Tom, his face lined with worry, spoke up. I found something about a ritual that might banish the creature. It's risky, but at this point, we don't have many options. Ethan nodded, a flicker of hope crossing his face. We have to try it. We can't let this thing continue. The group agreed, their determination outweighing their fear. The night passed in a blur of incantations, candles, and symbols drawn on the floor. The air grew thick with anticipation as they followed the ritual's instructions to the letter. But when the final words were spoken and the last candle extinguished, the room remained unchanged. The creature's malevolent presence still lingered, mocking their feeble attempts to rid themselves of the nightmare. Frustration and despair filled the room. One man slammed his fist against the wall, tears of helplessness streaming down his face. Others exchanged nervous glances, realizing that their tormentor was not so easily defeated. "We have to find another way," Ethan whispered, his voice heavy with defeat. Days turned into weeks, and the group's desperation grew. They tried every remedy, every chant, and every protection spell they could find. Yet the creature's relentless attacks continued unabated. Ethan, his once resolute spirit now shattered, stood before the group once more. "We can't go on like this. Our lives are falling apart. Our town is crumbling." With heavy hearts, they began to accept the horrifying truth. There might be no escape from the nightmare that had gripped Willowbrook. As the room fell into a defeated silence, they knew that their journey into darkness was far from over. The nightmare would not release its hold, and they were left with a chilling certainty that their town's darkest secrets were yet to be unveiled. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest as he delved deeper into the grim history of Willowbrook. The town's archives yielded a disturbing connection between the nightmare creature and a series of unsolved disappearances that dated back centuries. Whispers of curses and vengeful spirits permeated the forgotten records. Desperation fueled Ethan's determination. He shared his findings with the group, their eyes wide with fear and dread. They knew they had to confront the nightmare creature once and for all, but their nerves were taut like piano strings on the verge of snapping. The clock's relentless ticking echoed through the room as night fell. It was time to face the terror that had haunted them. Gathering in Ethan's small, dimly lit living room, they clutched makeshift weapons and protective amulets, relics of their failed attempts to ward off the creature. Ethan closed his eyes, willing himself to sleep and enter the nightmarish realm where the creature dwelled. His breaths became shallow, his body tense. Soon, he found himself in the familiar nightmare, the grotesque creature lurking in the shadows. The battle that followed was like nothing he had ever experienced. Reality merged with the dream world, making it impossible to distinguish between the two. The creature's nightmarish form contorted and twisted, its inhuman wails echoing in the dark abyss. Ethan fought with a determination fueled by desperation. He slashed at the creature, striking with all his might. The dream world quaked as their battle raged on, each blow sending shockwaves of pain through Ethan's body. Finally, in a moment of grim determination, Ethan managed to weaken the creature's form. With a final, desperate lunge, he struck the killing blow, banishing the nightmare back into the depths of his mind. The nightmarish world around him shattered, and he awoke with a start. Gasping for breath, Ethan stared at the ceiling, his body aching from the battle. He had won, but at a great cost. He could feel the physical and emotional scars that the ordeal had left behind. As the dawn broke over Willowbrook, the group gathered in Ethan's living room, their faces etched with exhaustion and relief. They had faced the nightmare and emerged victorious, but the town bore the scars of their battle. With the nightmare creature banished, The once peaceful town was now a shattered reflection of its former self. The community that had once thrived was torn apart, replaced by fear and mistrust. And as they looked to the future, they couldn't shake the feeling that the nightmare was not truly defeated, that it lingered in the shadows, waiting for its chance to return. The story of Willowbrook had come to a tragic conclusion, leaving its inhabitants to grapple with the darkness that had consumed their lives. But deep down, they knew that the nightmare was not gone, merely biding its time, ready to strike once more when they least expected it.